morning, and thank you for joining us at the Big Adventure Show. We're here with Ramon Villalobos, and we're going to be discussing Border Jam. Thank you very much for taking the time out to speak with me.
Yeah, no problem.
Can you tell me a little bit about how the book came about?
I think the idea and the story was something that Eric had wanted to do for a long time, and when I got approached to it, it was already sort of in the works at Vertigo Comics, but I was sort of the only artist that they had in mind to do it. So they had asked me if I was interested, and it sounded really cool, and I, had time to do stuff. So it was kind of like approached to me. But once I got it, I understood like how much it was like the perfect comic for me to draw, and I infused a lot of like my personality into it. Eric is, I think, the same sort of like racial identity as Frank. So that a lot of the experiences that he has, Frank does in the book, is stuff that Eric went through growing up in Arizona. I grew up in Northern California, but I was always more like, I grew up in like a area where there was a lot of like migrant workers that had like settled, so it was like real heavy Mexican American population, and I always felt like an outsider there because I didn't sort of fit the mold of like what the other like Mexican kids were up to. So I relate to a lot of the cultural sort of stuff that's in the book. It's like not fitting into like what you're supposed to be. So that was like definitely part of that is my experience, but the specific like sort of the identity stuff that Eric talks about with like race is definitely much more like his experience.
Quinte is my favorite character in the book. He's really close to my heart because I feel he's a little different. My son's on the spectrum, so I identify with some of the behavior that Quinte has.
Yeah.
Was that something that you came up with as character design, or was that something that Eric brought in, or was it something that you both talked about?
So something we both talked about. It's something that was hinted at and that I kind of picked up on in the book, that he is on the spectrum, that he's differently abled, and both Eric and I sort of have nephews and nieces that are autistic, and so that was something that we wanted to sort of pay respect to and have like a differently abled character in the book that those kids could relate to. But also like we wanted him to be cool looking and like awesome. So he ends up being most of our favorite characters just by virtue of he looks the coolest and he's like the funniest and stuff. So yeah, that was something that was like sort of a mutual thing that like Eric like sort of like more like an alley-oop thing,
Sure.
Like he had it out there, and then I sort of just took it to the next level.
Yeah, I love the luchador mask. I love the colors that you're using. Tamara Bonvillian is an amazing colors.
Yeah. Tamara was, when I got asked to do the book, I told the editor, but I really wanted to work with Tamara. That was like Tamara and I are really good friends. We've worked together on a few books now, and so whenever I work on a project, I want her to do it because she is so good. Like, I can give her an idea for something, a suggestion, and then she'll like elevate the idea for what I want. Like in a lot of the stuff in here, I'll give her like really kind of weird, off-kilter like color ideas. Like the last scene of the first issue, I told her I wanted to be like a Sprite commercial or like a Sprite can, and I told her the whole book I wanted to look like these different jerseys of different like pro sports teams in like Arizona. There's so much of those like influence what I think of that area.
Sure.
So I wanted to feel that way without being like overt, and that was to me the best way is to get that palette, and she understood that completely, and she definitely sort of is used to working with my sort of abstract ideas.
and I think they mesh well together. Like I said, the coloring in the book is just amazing. And in issue 2, you guys had that giant splash page.
Oh yeah.
For Mictlan and how the monsters are being sent after the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
And that is just so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was in the comic, in the script. Eric was saying that he wanted it to be like the big moment, which makes sense because it's like the big group shot with all the different characters, and I had a lot of fun with that, of designing all those different monsters from like different, like folklore and stuff. And when I was done, I needed to take a break. Like that was one where like I had bought like a piece of cake, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna eat this until I finish this script, and then I'll be like, or like this 2-page spread. That'll be like my reward for getting my work done.
I think that's awesome because the other thing that really impressed me was at the end of one when the pyramid was under the store.
Oh yeah.
And that just kind of like caught me off guard, and I thought, holy smoke, this is really awesome.
Yeah, that was real fun to work on. That was an idea that Eric had in the script, and I was just like, oh, all right.
How do you feel this book is in comparison to some of the stuff like you've done, like Nighthawk, America, you've done, I mean, really your arsenal is tremendous. You've done the X-Men Blue, you've done other books where your artwork is just out there and it's really beautiful.
This one is like a lot of things that I really like to draw, or things that I really am interested in. Like I like, a little bit of horror stuff. I like teen sort of like romance shows, like, Dawson's Creek and that kind of stuff. I like watching that stuff when I work. It's easy to just have on in the background.
Sure.
And like Mexican stuff, and just like, there's a lot of different interests of mine sort of all smashed into one thing. So it's been a blast to work on it, and just like infuse so much of different like things that I love into the comic. More so than any other book, because you don't really do that as much in an X-Men book.
Okay. Do you guys see yourself working together more in the future, aside from this Vertigo run?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, I like working with Eric. So.
Well, no, and it's awesome, but sometimes people don't really gel together. And
yeah, listen, me and Tamara for sure. Me and Eric, no, he's dead to me.
I think that's really awesome. I'm glad that you guys had a run where the book was selling out, because I was looking at pictures on Twitter and people were complaining like, I can't get a hold of the book.
Yeah.
The book is sold out.
Yeah, that felt really good. Yeah, it felt really good to have everybody tell me that they couldn't find the book. Although it made me feel like the store should have maybe ordered more of my comic, that's all. It felt real personal when everybody in like the local area that I live in couldn't find it. I was like, what the heck? The store should know to order my book.
No, you know what? You're right, because I couldn't find it. I chased the book through San Bernardino County and Riverside County. I think I hit a total of 8 shops trying to get books, and it was very hard for me to get.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's a good problem to have. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, as far as the run, how many books are there going to be in this arc, if you're able to say?
Yeah, the immediate arc is 6, and then after that, we'll see what happens. But yeah, the immediate arc is 6.
Okay. Wow, so we still have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. The next issue comes out, I think, next week, whenever, we'll film this.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, are there going to be any other shows you're going to be doing before the end of the year, or is this going to be your last show?
I think this is it for this year. Yeah.
Are you going to be doing like Latinx Expo or anything like that? It's going to be heading up over the hill, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think they're doing it in Modesto soon, and I live in Stockton, California. So
okay.
Yeah. I've been talking to the person that's there about going out for that one.
Okay, awesome.
I'm a big fan of Javier
Hernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love his stuff. I see them all at the shows.
I did one of the first ones that he had done out in San Jose of that show.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah, because that was close enough that I could drive to back then. So I went out and met the Hernandez brothers, Jaime, Gilbert.
I love them. One of the things, I met Jaime at the Comadre's shop over at Heidi Ho Comic Books.
Okay, yeah.
And it was interesting to know that he was in the punk just as much as I was.
Oh yeah, that when I found out about that book, like Love and Rockets, it was it was later into the thing, and when I was reading comics, and I'm 30, so that book came out like before I was born. But when I read it, it had like comics, like superheroes, wrestling, punk rock, like teen romance. It was like it felt like a person made a comic like for me. So that was like pretty amazing. He's a huge influence.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really
you very
appreciate
much.
you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good
Appreciate
day.
it. You too.
Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. Like us and subscribe for a chance to win one of 2 autographed copies of Bordertown #1, autographed by Erica Esquivel and Ramon Villalobos. The winners will be chosen at random. Follow us on social media at CCL Nerds. Check out our website at cafeconlechenerds.com and our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and our own website. Thanks a lot and good luck.